So today we're just going to work on strategies for estimating products and quotients. That means estimating when we multiply and divide. Now these are going to involve decimals. So a good idea when you have a decimal problem where you're going to need to multiply or divide is to be able to estimate first to make sure that you get an answer that somewhat makes sense. So we want to be able to use mental math to be able to say, okay, this answer is pretty good. It somewhat makes sense. So it says estimate 7.65 times 3.2. Notice it does not say find the real answer. It doesn't say get out a calculator and do the problem. It doesn't say actually find the answer, stack up the problems. It says estimate. Now when I estimate, I want to use numbers that are easy for me. 7.65, to me that's pretty darn close to 8. 3.2, to me close to 3. 8 times 3 I know is 24. For me, 24 is a pretty close estimate. Now, some kids like to be a little more specific in their estimate. Instead of saying 7.65, some kids might say, oh, that's 7.5 times 3. For them, that's easy to do in their head. The point of estimating is to get an answer that's going to be somewhat close to the real answer, but is yet easy for you to do. So for some kids, this is pretty easy to do. They know that 3 times 7 is 21, and 3 times a half is 1.5, so they would get 22.5. Both of these are fine estimates because you're showing what numbers you used. You used numbers that were close, and it was easy for you. So again, that's the thing. Pick numbers that are easy for you and are close to the original numbers. So these three are on your paper. Teacher, now would be a good time to pause the video. Everybody try these three. Spend a minute or two comparing with your neighbors. Show what numbers you used, and then turn the video back on in about 3 minutes. So hopefully you've had time to try all three. You showed your work and then you shared with a neighbor real quick what you got. Now again, how you estimate and how I estimate might be different. So the numbers I put up here aren't the only right answer. Again, I'm estimating. I'm picking numbers that are easy for me. I know that 4.72 is pretty close to 5 and 1.8 is close to 2. I'm going to pick 5 and 2. 5 times 2 gives me 10. Again, some of you maybe are a little you're pretty comfortable with decimals, so you might say, oh, I'm going to go with 4.7 times 2. Okay, if you're comfortable with decimals, no problem. Then you get 9.4 for an answer. Again, these are estimates. Use numbers that are easy for you. In the next one, I'm going to choose 17 and 4. To me, that's pretty easy. 17 times 4 is 68. So again, pick numbers that work for you. They're easy for you to do in your head, and they're close to the original numbers. Here I would probably pick 8 and 20, and I know that's 160. So again, you pick what's best for you. So that's not too hard. Multiplying using numbers that are easy for you, pretty good way to estimate. Now if I did this first problem for real and got the answer, I better get an answer that's somewhat close to 10 or somewhat close to 9.4. Same thing in letter B. I better get something somewhat close to 68. Letter C, we better get something close to 160. Okay? Here's a real life example. Okay, you want to know when you buy something, is the person punching it into the computer correctly? Are they typing it into the cash register correctly? You don't want to have to pay too much. So in this example, Arlene bought 6 yards of fabric to make a quilt. Fabric is $6.75 a yard. Sales clerk charged her $45.90 before tax. Well, before you get out your money and start paying for something, you want to know, am I being charged the right amount? So it says, figure out, did they make a mistake and explain? Well, again, I'm not going to do the real problem. I'm just going to figure this out. $6.75 a yard. That's less than $7, but 7 is pretty easy. So I'm going to say it's about $7 a yard. And I bought 6 yards of fabric. Well, 7 times 6 is 42. $42. I know that before tax, I should be charged $42, or actually even a little less than that. And it says the sales clerk is charging Arlene $45.90 before tax. There's obviously a problem. Okay? I just did my math and I found there's a problem. Now, if this was a question on a test, I got to make sure I read it. It says, did the clerk make a mistake? Did the clerk make a mistake? Yes. They made a mistake. And it says explain. Well, I've got some work to explain. I'm just going to write a short sentence. The bill before tax should be less than $42. So again, that is a real reason. When in real life do I need to estimate? Right here. Anytime I'm buying something, I need to make sure that I'm being charged the right amount. I don't want to overpay. Okay? Here's an example. This one might even be in your notes. It says you buy 8 rolls of film for your camera. Most of you don't even know what film is anymore because you use your phone for everything. Back in the old days, you have to put rolls of film in your camera. Now it says each roll is $4.79. Estimate the cost before tax. Estimate. Show the numbers you're going to use. Go ahead, pause the video. Everybody take a minute, try this problem, check in with a neighbor, and teacher, bring the video back in a minute or two. Thanks. Hopefully you've tried this one. I'm going to say $4.79 is pretty close to $5. Well, if I buy 8 rolls, 5 times 8 should be about $40. I know it's going to be a little less, but it should be around $40 before tax. Okay? Now, estimating quotients, that means estimating when I divide. One great strategy, compatible numbers. Okay? Compatible numbers aren't just used in division. They're numbers that are easy to divide or multiply mentally. Now, it says when we use compatible numbers for division, the first thing we want to do is round our divisor to a number that's easy for us. Okay? The divisor is the number you're dividing by. If I'm going to use compatible numbers for multiplication, just round both of them to numbers that are easy to multiply in your head mentally. So for division, first you pick, okay, the number I'm dividing by, I want to make that easy, and then pick a number out here, the dividend, that's easy. Let's show you how that works real quick. I'll do the first one with you. Now remember, this is division, so I'm going to divide this, or I'm going to change this into an easy number first. I'm going to change that into 2. Now I just got to think, what's something out here, the first number, that's easy to divide by 2 and is somewhat close to 38.9? Some of you would pick 38. Others of you would say, I'm going to pick 40. And others of you who aren't afraid of decimals might say, oh, you know what, it's not too hard for me to do 39 divided by 2. So all of these are right. So I know 40 divided by 2 is 20. I know 38 divided by 2 is 19. And I know 39 divided by 2 is 19.5. All of those are good estimates. Now's a good time to pause the video. Everybody try B and C. Check back in a minute or two. So again, we want to use the divisor first. Again, I'm going to use 2. What's something that easily divides by 2 and is close to 11.95? Well, 12 is pretty easy. So I've got 12 divided by 2 is 6. Again, just because these are the numbers I use doesn't make them right. You have to pick numbers that are easy for you and close to the original numbers. Next one, I'm going to change this to a 4. And I'm going to say, what's something that's easy to divide by 4? Well, 80 is pretty close. I can divide that by 4, and I'll get 20. Some kids might say, well, I'm going to do 84 and 4 and get 21. And again, those of you who aren't afraid of decimals, some of you in your head can do 82 divided by 4. And you know that it's 20.5, 20.5. So again, pick the ones that are easy for you. Okay? Maybe you have a test question, and you got to figure out, is my answer even reasonable? Does it make sense? In this problem, it says, is 2.15 reasonable? Does it make sense for this problem? Well, let's see. I'm going to change these into easy numbers. 8 is pretty easy. 16 is somewhat close. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So I got 2. 2 is somewhat close to 2.15. So is 2.15 a reasonable quotient? Yes, it is. And I showed what numbers I used. You should do the same thing on A and B. Pause the video, come back in 2 minutes. All right, so 2.3, pretty close to 2. 1.564, pretty close to 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I would say 0.68 is pretty close to 1. So is this quotient reasonable? I'm going to say yes. Explain. I'm going to say 1 is close to 0.68. There's my explanation. And I showed my numbers. In letter B, 4.98 is close to 5, and this is close to 25. 25 divided by 5 is 5. Is their quotient reasonable? Is 52.3 reasonable? No. Explain. 5 is not close to 52.3. All right, grab your study guide. Try numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7. Pause the video, come back in about 5 to 8 minutes after everybody's tried these problems. All right, I'm going to go through these and how I did them. Again, for many of these, there's more than one right answer. I want to buy 8 CDs. They're $15.29 each. Estimate my total cost. Well, I can do 8 times 15 pretty quickly in my head. I know 8 times 10, if this was 10, would be 80. And 8 times 5 is 40. So 80 and 40 together, 120. Again, those are the numbers I used. You had to pick numbers that were easy for you. Estimate this division problem with compatible numbers. I'm going to say that's close to 10, and this is close to 100. 100 divided by 10 is 10. For me, those are easy numbers. Now, some of you who aren't afraid of decimals might do 99 and 9.9. 99 divided by 9.9 is also 10. So again, pick what's easy for you. All right, third one. You have $86.20. You're going to buy as many shirts as you can. They're $12.30 each. I got to pick easy numbers. I know I'm going to be doing $86.20 divided by $12.30. But those aren't such easy numbers. So I know that if I'm using compatible numbers in division, I should change this first. I'm just going to change it into 12. And then I got to find something close to 86 that 12 will go into easily. So I got to think that over a little bit. Well, 5 12s is only 60. 6 12s is 72. 7 12s is 84. Hey, that's pretty close. 84 divided by 12 is 6. I can buy about 6 shirts. Again, those are numbers I chose to use. Doesn't mean you had to. Or did I make a mistake there? All right, better go back and check that. I went in too big of a hurry. 84 divided by 12 is not 6. I know 5 times 12 is 60. And 6 times 12 is 72. 7. I can buy about 7 shirts. Thank you for catching me on that one. All right, this one, make sure you read the directions correctly. In letter A, it says estimate that product, round each factor to the nearest whole number. So we got to think back to our rounding problems. 23.19, rounded to the nearest whole number. Build my fence. Is 1 big enough to kick up a 3? No, so it sticks as a 23. Times, now it says round them both to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to build my fence here. Is 8 big enough to kick up this 3? Yes, 14. So it says I have to estimate the answer to the original problem, this problem, by using these numbers. Well, 23 times 14 I can't do in my head, so I actually have to set up a side problem for this one. So it's important that we read the directions. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 is 9. 0. 1 times 3, 1 times 2, 2, 9, 10, 11, 12, 322. The real answer to that problem should be close to 322. Now we go to letter B. It says estimate using compatible numbers. Well, compatible numbers I really like because those are numbers that are quick for me. So I'm going to drop this one down to 20, and I'm going to move this one up to 15. For me, those are easy numbers. I know that gets me 300. Both of those are okay because it says estimate, and I followed the rules. In letter A, it says the rule was change them both into the nearest whole number. Letter B said use compatible. Those are compatible for me. They're easy for me. The third part, no right or wrong answer. Which method do you prefer? Do you prefer part A or part B? So you decide. Some kids prefer part A. It's much more accurate. Some kids prefer part B. It's a lot faster for them. You pick what's easiest for you.